So today we're going to be talking about how to hire A players. One of the biggest challenges that I find small law firm owners having is the ability to hire people. I've heard the complaint, oh, you can't hire anybody nowadays. There's nobody good out there, et cetera, complain. It's just simply not true. There are A players out there, but how do you attract them? So, the mistake that a lot of firms are making, and I think that this is somewhat understandable, but they think that money and benefits attract A players, and it doesn't. It doesn't. This is the threshold. An A player is going to say, I need to make X amount of dollars. I need to make enough, to justify the work that I'm doing. But if money is the only thing that holds somebody there, it is very difficult for small law firms to compete because it's hard to offer what the big firms and the government offers, especially when you throw in benefits and, healthcare and all of those other things. So for a small law firm, this isn't going to be it. Now, there is a threshold. You can't get A players cheap. Okay. A players are going to cost you money. And they're going to be well worth it. It's going to be much better to have one super solid A player than maybe having a couple Bs, and you definitely don't want Cs, people who, just basically are taking up space and collecting a paycheck. The trick, the key to getting A players is going to be your culture. Okay. What do you stand for? What do you stand for? So let me give it as an example. As a criminal defense firm, our number one goal was to provide our clients with the very best representation that we could and get them the best outcomes that we could. That was our number one goal. But we also wanted to be able to improve the criminal justice system. I think it's pretty widely acknowledged that our legal system can use some improvement. Okay, so I wanted to improve it. Now, depending on your capacity and your resources, you may have to do that passively, right? You may have to say, look, I'm going to do my best to improve the criminal justice system one case at a time by getting the best outcomes that I can, and hope that slowly pushes the pendulum in the way we want it to go. When you get more resources, when you have more capacity available to you because you're not, maybe working in the same way, then you can do pro bono work. You can join committees and organizations. For a number of years, I was a board member of the California Attorneys for Criminal Justice, and I actually would go to the Capitol and talk to legislators and write memos about certain bills that were coming through. That was a good way for me to try to accomplish what we wanted to accomplish, which was to improve the system. But at a later date, when I opened up my own firm, and my capacity and resources were much thinner, and so I didn't do that. What I did is I tried to make things work one point at a time. The point is that if your culture is, hey, we want to improve, fill in the blank, whatever it is, your law area, you want to improve some injustice that you feel that's going on, you want to improve quality of life, you want to improve something, that needs to be part of your culture, right? If your culture is just about money, if that's the only thing that you talk to new employees about is how much you're paying them, what the benefits are, then they are going to leave. They are not going to be loyal. They're not going to stay because someone's going to offer them more, right? So culture. What culture really means is your legacy, right? What is your firm going to be remembered for? I wanted our firm to be recognized as one of the top firms criminal defense firms in California, in Northern California. And 2 years in a row, we were selected the best criminal defense firm in Northern California. I personally, I have an ego. I personally want to be recognized as one of the top attorneys in my field. And I've been recognized by that by, Best Lawyers of America for, a decade plus. And that's, that's peer review. But that was really important to me. Some people don't care about that. When I left the public defender's office, I wanted to have my name on the door. That was important to me. Okay. So that was part of my legacy. So how do you get there? All right. Because your legacy doesn't really make much difference to the associates. Your legacy probably doesn't matter too much to the receptionist. Your legacy is not going to inspire your bookkeeper. So how do you get your legacy and also motivate your firm? Okay. And when I'm saying legacy, I'm really talking about what is it that you're trying to accomplish. At the end of the day, I wanted my firm to be known as one of the top firms, and I did want to make a difference in the criminal justice system, but we had to do that in a more passive way because for a long time, I didn't have the resources to do more than just build the firm as I wanted it. So here's my viewpoint on how you make all of this happen. And it boils down to transparency. Okay? And I think that there's 3 types of transparency that you need to be concerned with when we're talking about getting your A player. So what are we talking about? We're going, why should this A player, this top person in whatever they are, whether they're a lawyer, a paralegal, a receptionist, a bookkeeper, office manager, fractional CEO, whatever it is that they are going to be doing that's working for you, SEO, marketing, whatever, how are you going to get these guys? Well, I believe that the key to this is not the money and the benefits. That's just the threshold. It's transparency. And there's 3 levels of transparency that I think are really important and often get overlooked. The first is your vivid vision. All right. This is kind of your legacy, being the best firm, being a top firm, being recognized as that, being awarded that. There's organizations that do that, and most of them, or many of them anyway, are very legitimate and they're peer recognized, and it's important. So what's your vivid vision? What is it that you're doing? Is this all about money? Or what is it that you're trying to accomplish? And as I said, our vivid vision, at one point my vivid vision was I wanted to get to $1 million. Well, once I get, and it wasn't, the number was important to me, okay? I'm not going to lie about that. The number, was significant and a threshold. But it wasn't the number itself that really mattered. It was what it was going to enable us to do. It was the resources that it was going to give us. It was the ability that we could spend more time and do a better job of taking care of our clients, controlling the client experience, making sure that people knew what was going on, that we had enough resources into each case so that we got the very best outcomes that we could. That's what $1 million represented to me. So having your vivid vision. Now, the question is, maybe you have it, maybe you don't. And if you don't, you need to read the book Vivid Vision, or read the book Traction, or read the book, Think and Grow Rich. There's a lot of books that talk about a vivid vision of what is it that you're trying to accomplish? What is the end game? What is it that you desire? There's lots of different ways to say it. But here's the thing, even if you have it, have you shared it with your team? Does your team know that what they're doing, when they're putting paper into the paper machine, the copier, it's because they want to do a better job, because you are working towards improving the criminal justice system. It's a big goal. It's an understanding that there is more to what we're doing than just getting a paycheck, that there are greater implications. Are you sharing that with them? Are you telling them on a regular basis? And if once you give them the vivid vision, look, we want to do, 1 million. Okay, great. Let's say that's your goal. All right. For a lot of small firms, that is a goal. All right. Well, your staff's not going to be all that impressed with the $1 million because it's not going in their pocket. So what does that equal? And that equals better results. All right. And it equals a better system, right? That you are improving the system one case at a time. And sometimes that's all that you can do individually. But if you continually get better results, and I could give lots of examples of times where I did things, even though I was pretty sure they weren't going to work, but because it got me other results, it got me, I pointed out weaknesses in the case, or, I got people fairer deals, and then pretty soon that started to trickle down to other defendants. And well, my guy got this, then how is a judge with any integrity at all going to justify giving more to somebody else's? So, that improves the system. So a vivid vision, you got to share this. This is when I'm talking about transparency, you've got to share this with your team. All right. Second, where are we? Where are you guys in relationship to your vivid vision right now? What are your KPIs, right? Are people hitting the mark? Are your employees performing in a measurable way that you can show them, hey, you accomplished this, good job. This was the goal. This was our quarterly goal, and we reached it. Here's the KPI that proves it, and you are doing a good job. That pat on the back, people like to know where they stand in relationship to what they're trying to accomplish. If it's the same old every day, it becomes really hard to be motivated, and it becomes harder to keep A players because A players aren't going to stay. What is your client satisfaction? Are you doing any work on trying to ascertain whether your clients are happy? That is a whole nother topic to talk about, but, are your clients happy? And can you measure that? And can you share that with your team? And are you making the adjustments so that you continue to work towards that, right? That's the goal, is that each of these KPIs should be a step towards that, a stepping stone. Obviously, if you're trying to make $1 million in a year, then your quarterly goals are going to be somewhere around $250,000, right? $250,000. How are you doing with that? The first quarter, where are you in relationship to what your goals were? And then the third one, which I think is really important, these are all important, is staff awareness. How's your staff doing? Are you checking in? Are you talking to them? Are you making sure that they're happy? Right? Because remember, you're in a position as a small law firm owner, you're not going to be able to compete on salary. It's going to be really, really difficult to do that. So are they happy? Are you checking in with them and going, hey, how you doing? What's going on? What's going on in your life? How are you feeling? What can we do to make your job easier? What can we do to help you improve? Because if my vivid vision is our firm to be the top firm in Northern California, then I need top performers, right? I need top lawyers. You're not going to be the top firm if you've got a bunch of B and C players. You need A players. How do I get people from where they are to being an A player, or being recognized as an A player? All right. That's actually quite the journey. And how do I get you from, hey, I've been practicing for about 15 minutes to now I'm being recognized as one of the top attorneys? How do we do that? How do we make them happy? Are there any issues that you need to be addressing? Is there anything going on, in the background, the whispers that it may not get to you, but you need to know about? Is anybody leaving? It's always good to know when people are leaving. A lot of times they don't want to tell you that because they're afraid that, you'll kick them out the door or whatever. A players don't worry about that. But it's important for you to know, hey, we are going to go on we're planning this big old vacation and I'm going to go on it regardless. So, I'll leave if I have to, or I need to make more money, or whatever it is anybody leaving? And so at least you can address it. I mean, one of the most challenging and frustrating things for me as a boss was when people would just call me and say, hey, I got another job. And I'm like, you never even talked to me about it. You never let me know. Now, in fairness, I wasn't doing this on a regular basis. We were doing it too infrequently, and that was my bad. And that's why I know that this is so important. And how is the workload? How are people doing? Lawyers, tend to just keep muscling up. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. But you should be tracking data. You should be tracking how many hours they're working and whatever. And if there's too much, that's a red flag. And if it's too little, that's a red flag too. So you need to find out, why did they go from, putting in X amount of hours and now it's, 20% less regularly? What's going on? Something is going on. Or all of a sudden they're just cranking. Well, what's going on with that? So how do you hire A players? It's all going to be about culture. As a small firm, you are going to have a difficult time competing on the money front. There is a threshold that you will have to hit in order to get A players, but you don't have to match them dollar for dollar or benefit for benefit. What A players want, what the top people want, is they want to know what's going on in the firm. They want transparency, and they want to know that they have the ability to grow. That part of your vision, your vivid vision, is to get better. And that part of getting better is getting them better. And then be very transparent about where you are. How are we doing? We set these goals. How are we doing now? Are we getting close, or are we moving farther and farther behind? And are you staying aware of what's going on with your staff? Are you keeping an eye on what's happening and just talking to them? And if I will say this and close out. If you, as the owner, do these two things, if you have a vivid vision that you have sold them on, right? They wouldn't work for you if they didn't buy into your vivid vision, right? They wouldn't work for you if they didn't buy into your goals. So have you kept this at the forefront, what it is, the importance of what they're doing, and then shared with them very transparently where you are? Where are things? How are we doing based on what it was that are our goals? If you are transparent that way, it will be a lot easier for them to be transparent with you. Okay? And that's really a big part. It's part of that reciprocal thing that human beings go through, is that if I give you something, you feel, obligated and inclined to give me something. Your staff will be much more inclined to be open with you if you are open with them. All right, everybody. I hope this helps.